Good evening. It is 7:01 p.m. This is the regular Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Please stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Members present include myself, Chairman Jacob Price, Vice Chair Robert Lovenheim, our Office Manager Julia Heilicke, and our Engineer John Tressler. Solicitor Ron Karasak is excused for today, as is Supervisor Barrett. Our first order of business is approving the minutes from the February 9th, 2022 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Lovenheim. Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We do not have, or are there any public comments on agenda items included or not included? Okay. We do not have any public hearings or plans to act on. We also do not have any announcements. First order under new business is considering the ratification for the advertising of the 2022 ground fertilization services bid. This is put before us by Lois. This basically is just specifications for the bid, and that bid will be awarded on March 9th, and they will be due March 4th. So that's that. Any questions on that? Do I hear a motion that we authorize the advertising?
I'll make a motion that we authorize advertising.
Motion by Mr. Lovenheim, second by myself. Further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is the Npdef permit for Waterfront Park. Julie, I understand you attend this meeting. John, in some capacity.
I did.
Who wants to talk about this first?
Well, John, I know Missy attended. Are you available to talk about this, or I can summarize?
Well, you were there, I wasn't. I know when we put together even the proposal, because we're familiar with the Npdef permits, we do it all the time, and our concern was that with this next phase of the wellness park, that it could put you over an acre of disturbance, and the Conservation District considers these areas of disturbance cumulative. And so when we did our proposal, we warned that we should probably have that discussion, because you don't want to find out during your construction that Conservation District decided you were over and then they shut you down until you get a permit. So we recommended a meeting with the Conservation District. That meeting took place. I think Robert was there, Julia, and Missy. And they confirmed that they would like to see you in a conservation, or a Npdef permit. Did I do that accurately, Julia?
Yeah, and I think our view in it was we went along with what Missy was saying.
Correct.
It's a good idea.
I believe Missy said when we completely built out everything we want to do for Waterfront Park, we're looking at 4 acres of disturbance. So this is absolutely something we need to pursue. And one of the reasons it's on the agenda is to obviously inform the board, but to ask for a more or less formal, yes, Boucher and James, please pursue this permit.
Okay. If there's any more discussion, I'll just make a motion that we authorize Boucher and James to proceed with the work to get an Npdef term permit.
By Mr. Lovenheim, I'll second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Next, also on professional services, is discussing an agreement potentially for River's Edge Bike Park to get that up to snuff. Yeah, or Robert, or...
Robert, this is the item that you asked. This one.
Yeah, well, I think we're looking at about $75,000 total. And I don't know if there's been any discussion with Chris Rain at Middle Smithfield, but obviously that's where we have to go. And see if they wanna put in half of this. It's a lot of money. I'll note that when we started this, which was before I was ever here, there was a bid for about $200,000 to do this. Then we found a way to do it for, I think, about $75,000, I can't remember. Anyway, when we get all through, it'll cost $200,000.
That's fair. So are we looking at just having a discussion with Middle Smithfield to talk about what this requires? I know that we have now the master site plan grant, but this is talking about straight up reconstruction.
Right. I think we've got to do that. What do you think, Julia? That's the next step.
I would defer to John on this one. There are concerns with runoff and other Npdef items related to that.
Yeah, the Conservation District came in over a year ago now, and they cited the township, I believe, for violations of the existing permit. I did attend a meeting, and I think I wrote a memo on it, or an email, which I forwarded to you at some point, Jacob, and
Right.
I made some recommendations to how it could be perhaps remediated, but that's the last I know about it. So the only thing I know is there are outstanding violations out there that whatever you do going forward, the contractor are going to have to be addressed as part of his work.
I met out there with, Conservation District. Who was it? I can't remember his name.
John Moss?
Yeah, John Mott, and Missy.
Okay.
And based on what he said, I think she proposed the budget that we have, which is about $75,000. I also think we only have about a year left on the permit.
Yeah.
This work.
Right.
Well, I think the next step is gonna be talking to Middle Smithfield to what we want. I know that there's potentially some funding laying around that we have already set aside for some updates, and as well as, just some other funding for another project that, we'll have to talk to Berkheimer about potentially using that funding for this. I mean, that's just part of it, because, I mean, you know, the professional services at 20,000 for paving the trail, and you've got, you know, easily the other 33,000 on surveying and oils and whatnot. So yeah, I think we'll have to talk about that, because clearly we need to get our house in order on that park. I know people use it, that's for sure, but we have to make sure it's safe. I guess we'll leave that. We'll talk about broach this with Middle Smithfield in the next week or so. Does it sound like okay consensus? I mean, this is not an emergency. It's just something that's pending that has to be
addressed before you're, now, that's not to say you can't get a permanent extension.
right.
A permanent extension, but the question is, how long do you want to let it go before you address it?
Right, because the longer we leave it, the more it will cost, right? I mean,
Yeah, it'll continue to erode and deteriorate.
All right, well, I guess we can start the conversation with the extension and then talk about the finances. All right. Sounds like consensus on that, Robert?
Yeah.
All right, then we can move on to Green Light Go grant documents. We have a resolution before us as well as, the agreement itself.
So the documents you are seeing in front of you tonight, are because Robert and I met with Christopher May, who's the lead engineer on the project. Everything that you see are still items that are outstanding that the township needs to handle. Some of them are very simple. The resolution in front of you designates, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors as the person who signs documents. There are other C-160s and a traffic signal maintenance agreement that I do not know if John has had the opportunity to review yet.
No, I haven't.
So we might be able to, I would ask that the board consider at least the resolution, and we can consider the others once John has had the opportunity.
My feeling that I expressed, in the meeting with, Chris May was, let's get this done with all alacrity here, because we've got to go out to bid on this thing.
Right.
And as we can see what's going on, prices are going up. We don't
Sure.
know what we're gonna get, but the sooner the better. Have the copies gone over to Middle Smithfield to sign?
I did send the, original, intermunicipal agreement to them with the singular word change that Ron suggested. I have not heard back from them yet.
Okay, well, I stand ready to go over there anytime you want and try to push it.
And I'll make sure that we get a letter to you next week, looking at this.
That's fantastic.
Perfect. That said, Julie, is this the appropriate format for the resolution? Does it have to look like that?
It is the format that they want.
Okay,
Uh,
all right.
Send out once, right?
So is this 497 or 498?
it'll be $4.98.
Okay.
Now, you're the only one that has to sign them, I believe, right? Because you're the chairman.
Well, out of formality's sake, do you think it would upset them if I had Robert sign as well to reflect that a majority actually did vote for it?
I'm sure that it would be fine.
Okay, all right. With that said, I'll move that we approve resolution 498 and conditionally approve the traffic signal maintenance agreement pending review from Bechet and James.
I'll second that.
I add also the TE 160 that is in there to your,
Doesn't the resolution itself authorize the signature on that? I'll amend my motion to include that. All right, so motion by myself, second by Robert. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A moment then. And then, the next up is authorizing the advertising for the public hearing on technical amendments to the economic development zone. This would be ordinance 243. We have not yet received a review from the county planning commission, but we did receive one from our own planning commission. So at this point, this just gives us the authorization to advertise it in the paper as soon as we do, get that review. We don't have to pick a date today, but I would say, that basically, unless we get this tomorrow, we pretty much cannot consider this until perhaps our April, 13th meeting.
Do we have to wait for the county, or can we
No,
authorize it and just cancel it for some reason, there's
Well,
something?
no, we have to wait for them to, not to pick a date, but we have to wait for them to approve it at all. And then it requires the, posting of the affected parcels too.
Well, the effective, the posting is 30 days.
Right, but it has to be, 30 days, well,
But I'm
we
not
have to mail them letters as well.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that we have to wait for the
it-
MPPC to respond.
Well, they get 30 days.
and it's generally a good practice to do so, because if they come back with a comment that we need to change something, rather than have already put the advertisement in, spend all of that money, turn around, make the change, resubmit it, and keep moving
Yeah, but
forward.
it's just going on forever. Now we're talking about May.
We're looking at April at the latest. I mean, I gave it to them, the planning commission got it on February 11th. So feasibly, they have until March 11th, but.
Is there any deadline we have with them? If they don't approve it or
Planning
respond?
commissions get 30 days.
Just anxious to get this done.
Oh, no, absolutely. I share that concern, but I don't foresee why it would have any, issues. But basically, I think the soonest we would be able to consider it, probably the April 13th meeting, but.
Well, can we vote tonight, to authorize the advertising?
Oh, yeah,
Pending,
sure.
receipt of comments from
Sure.
the Monroe County Planning Commission?
Yeah,
Okay,
that motion would be in order.
all right, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim. I'll second the motion. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item up, ratifying our bills. We have one pack that's $177.75 and another for $85,596.89. That includes accounting, healthcare, advertising fees, insurance fees, and, some road maintenance things like salt. Any questions on that?
A motion to pay all the bills.
All right, second, by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this point, public comment, would be in order. Does anyone wish to?
Yes, I do.
Good.
My name is Patrick.
Come on up. Join us here.
Patrick, for the record, may I have your last name, please?
Pollock, P as in Peter, A-W-L-I-K. The reason I'm here today is, I got a letter in the mail. Had a few signs at the top of the driveway. I know there's more than one, and I got a letter in the mail saying there's gonna be a $500 a day fine per sign, per flag. And we had a combination of both, and they said that price would have been $3,000 a day.
What is this for again?
This is for,
It sounds like you received a letter from our zoning officer
Yes.
general about a sign violation.
about a sign violation.
Okay, but what exactly is it? I mean, what's the sign violation he's talking about?
I had signs close to the street, American flag was the flag, I had a couple Trump signs, I had a Don't Tread on Me flag, and,
Is this at your house?
yeah, it's my house. My mom and I, my stepdad, Norman Markowitz, he used to work for the township, towards being a code enforcer, this is going years back. But yeah, so I got a letter for $3,000 a day fine for the signs. And in return, I said, look, you know, a couple houses up the street, the other farmer, he's waving, LGBTQ flag, Black Lives Matter flag, and a whole bunch of other flags. He doesn't even have an American flag.
Well, it sounds like the flags you have are covered under your First Amendment rights, I would say.
Oh, I got them from the township. I got the letter from the township from Mr. Wolf.
Just speaking for myself, I think it's inappropriate. I think that, Supreme Court decisions going back to 2015 have pretty much wiped out the ability of a township or any municipality to regulate anything that has to do with the First Amendment, whether it happens to be a political sign, whether it happens to be a religious sign, or in your cases, signs, well, like, I guess you would call them personal belief signs of politics or religion, something like that.
Yes. So, township has no say, is that what you're saying?
Well,
Or what?
let me get into that, so that the Board of Supervisors doesn't have any, direct control over things like that. So if you were going to appeal that decision, you would have to appeal it to the zoning hearing board.
Okay.
And so,
For some reason, I thought this was the meeting I had.
Yeah, well, before that, I would like to speak to the zoning officer about this, because he may not be aware of your First Amendment rights, because the zoning code, which he's going by, and which he should go by, was written before these decisions were made.
Oh,
And for instance,
very interesting.
we are, contemplating changes to the signage code, which specifically will, take out anything that we have, that relates to, the control or regulation of, say, political signs or religious signs.
Okay.
But, I don't think that's reflected in the code yet, so he's only going by the code. But,
Okay,
but
so-
it's, what you're talking about is a First Amendment question,
Okay.
and I would like to speak to him about that.
Okay.
Because what you could do, if he could persist in this, is sue us. Because,
let me be
we're
clear.
going against the Supreme Court decision here.
Well, thank
I'm sorry, I feel very strongly about this stuff.
No, I appreciate it. I'm all about the Constitution, and, you know, it's slowly but surely our country, it seems like we're gonna lose our freedom. And every little bit of our Constitution and rights, you know, we gotta preserve. And I understand one of the flags I had may not have been appropriate, 'cause it just wasn't an appropriate sign, for political views. But, yeah, so is it okay if I put my signs back up, or should I wait until I get a letter from Mr. Wolf?
I would wait until counsel with Mr. Wolf on this.
But, no, let me be clear, there is no counsel with Mr. Wolf. You're free to talk to him, but the
That's what I mean.
township,
I can talk to him.
can't, the Board of Supervisors has discretion to appeal the decision of the zoning officer, but so does the affected party. And if that's the route you wanna take, I'd suggest, taking that letter to an attorney to consider the appeal.
Well, I wanna speak to Mr. Wolf, and I can't change the zoning code. And he's enforcing what he knows and what is in the code.
That was an old code?
But that's in the code now that we intend to change, but the problem is, there are things in that code that have been struck down by the Supreme Court.
Well, and Robert, if I may interrupt you, have you had the opportunity to speak with Ken about the letter you received yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I asked him, I said, look, I understand if we gotta take it down, I can't afford $3,000 a day. I go, but Mr. Eric White, he took over Gary Schwartz's farm, turned it into like a hippie, not that there's wrong with hippies, but it looks like a hippie commune. I mean, the place is a disgrace. He's got flags all over, chickens running across the road. My wife almost hit a pig. You know what? All I'm saying is, if I'm gonna get a $3,000 a day fine, a threatening letter for that, then I would like to see him get a $2,000 a day fine for the 4 flags that he's got up. Right is right. Discrimination is discrimination.
I don't think anybody should be fined. That's my opinion.
The fines that you referenced are only viable if this is done to the magisterial district judge downstairs. That's not an immediate, you're gonna get a bill from us, how it works. But Robert, as the two of you discussed, make sure, that you understand exactly the violation.
I understand.
We are not allowed to discuss or mandate, what is on the signs. We can only regulate them in certain ways. Size, for example, like that, we can regulate electronic signs and whatnot. So there might be some nuances to this, but I think it's really important, that we all talk to Ken before we.
And I met Ken. My mom and I, we liked him. He was a real nice gentleman. As a matter of fact, he worked with my stepdad, Norman. Yeah, and it's, I'm not complaining about him, I'm just complaining about the situation that my wife and I.
This problem is not of his making. It really isn't.
And as far as payment, it said that we had to take the signs down within 24 hours from when we got the letter, and then we'll be fined $3,000 a day. So, he said, don't worry about it, you got the signs down in time, and he really appreciated that. But I asked him if he could send Eric a letter since I got a letter. He said he would. I called him a week later, because the flags were still up over at Eric's. And I guess I reminded him, maybe he's busy. I don't want to put in a complaint towards him at all. I really like Mr. Wolf.
Appreciate that very much.
No problem. My family, we've been here since '85. But long story short, and then I reminded him, and he said he'd send out another letter. Now, that was a week, I think that was last Monday. So I'm only thinking if he got the letter of that Tuesday, if it's going on a week, 2,000 times 4 signs, 5 days, that's $20,000. You might be able to use that towards some of the projects you guys want to work on. I'm just saying.
I appreciate it.
I will have a conversation, though. I also want to get the advice of our solicitor, our lawyer, because I want to know how we can enforce rules that are, we can enforce signage rules about free speech that have been struck down by the Supreme Court.
Okay, maybe Mr. Wolf didn't know that?
Probably not. And if he knows it or not, it's not a question for him, because he's enforcing the zoning code that exists. That's all he can do.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't a bigger question here. Township can even have a zoning code. We hope to address very soon, but we haven't yet.
And so my dumb question is, if I wanted to put a sign back up, should I wait till I get a letter saying it's okay, or?
Let me speak to him first.
Okay.
And then I can advise you, you have my email, it's robert@smithfieldtownship.com.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, robert@smithfieldtownship.com. Yeah. I'll send you an email in a couple.
Send me until I have yours, and.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Very welcome, thank you, everyone.
Take care. Is there any other public comment, or?
I have two public comments, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first one is we got notification earlier today that the township received the 1% for Nature grant for the two
Oh, right.
bear trash cans. So we, informed Chris Rain earlier today, he's aware, and we'll get started on that.
Yeah,
And, yay,
that's great
congratulations.
stuff,
More
great
money
work.
for improvements.
Well,
absolutely.
I would like to make a comment on behalf of all the bears that live in Smithfield Township. They're very distressed that we're getting bear-proof trash receptacles.
Well,
Sure.
the second part of this comment is we received this grant. And the plan for the Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau grant was to apply for this one if we didn't receive it. So now I wanted to remind the board that you need to start thinking about what you want to apply for that. With a gentle nudge that we might have some serious River's Edge bike park improvements that we could pursue. And that might help offset those funds.
Maybe.
I think that's a good idea.
Absolutely things to consider, and, we can go from there. That grant is due, March 31st, so we still have a little time.
What are the, bits of it?
$300,000 is the whole pool, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think the maximum ask is about 40,000, and it's
Yeah.
one-to-one match.
It's a one-to-one.
So it's like 15,000 a township, somewhere around.
It's really not that bad if we can be competitive. And I, based on my conversations with Chris Barrett and talking about, he was even excited about us picking up the trash, I think there's reason to think that we would have a competitive application.
I've only, from past experience, my only, thought is to down as much as we can. We'll stand a much better chance if it's a little better than this time.
Yeah, maybe I could put out some feelers, see, because they're always open to giving feedback on applications before they're submitted. So that'll go along with our talk with Middle Smithfield about the improvements in general.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, if they find we applied for them, maybe the same thing.
Or if we did a dual application, potentially. Or if they at least commit the match, match our match. All right. Is that your second thing, or is that it?
Nope, they were the two.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we will get on that in this week then. What's left of it.
We'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I have one comment, it won't take long.
Sure.
I think you all got emails today about Foxwood Campground.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew anything about that or nothing, but it sounds like a pretty serious violation. It looks like they're filling over 5 acres, to fill.
Right.
I don't know whether the township wants to get involved. It's probably a violation of some ordinance that we have,
Probably.
or whether you just wanna let the conservation district.
Well, we'll probably have to have Ken take a look too.
Yeah, I would think you might wanna ask Ken to, I don't think we have a specific grading permit, but it still could fall under,
I think we might, actually.
if you have a grading permit, it has to be in violation of that.
I think we have some sort of limit
If
to
they
that
haven't filed a plan,
because
we
Smithfield Gateway needed something relative to that before they started, really moving the earth last, year. All right.
I know you don't need to look for more trouble, but.
Yeah, well, was my feeling reading it, great, let them do it.
Well, we'll talk to Ken and
I just wanna make sure everyone saw
Yeah.
and knew what was going on.
Yeah, we'll see to that. Okay. As said, Robert made a motion to adjourn. I will second his motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned at 7:30 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for joining us, all.